Hey guys, it's Tim Shermack, and welcome back to another episode of the Platform Marketing Show. I'm joined this morning by Aaron Nelson in San Angelo, Texas. Aaron, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Tim.
So Aaron's business has doubled over the last year. I think you said you went from about 16 to over 30 transactions here in the last year. But what's really cool about that, as if that wasn't already impressive, is I know you're running multiple other businesses. You have a property management, and how many doors did you say you had with the property
We've
management?
got about 700 doors in our property management side.
Yeah. So you're keeping busy. You're doing real estate investing. I know you mentioned you have a home services company, plumbing and everything. I mean, I'm assuming you do like HVAC,
Yeah,
that whole
exactly. So
realm of things.
it services all of our other companies. Like we do a lot of flips and things like that. So it services our property management, our flips. We also help investors do the same thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you get a client on the real estate side, you're able to monetize that relationship much deeper than maybe a normal real estate agent is, because now hopefully that client becomes a customer for life with their plumbing needs, their electric needs, in addition, obviously, to working with you when they buy and sell real estate. So that's really impressive. I have to ask you, and by the way, for those who aren't familiar with the Platform Marketing Show, I don't send questions ahead of time. So these conversations are purely live, and I don't know what Aaron's going to say or how he's going to answer these questions. So this is fun for me having these conversations as well. My guess is that when you say your business has doubled, is a lot of that coming from fuzzy ROI and just the branding in the community? Or how much of that is like, hey, I just converted all these leads and I called a bunch of people? I mean, what does that mix look like for you?
Yeah. So the big thing that platform has done for me basically is that fuzzy ROI side. So, everybody hears about the local celebrity, but until you actually experience it, when you're sitting down at a restaurant and some random person walks up to you and says, "Hey, I think I know you. Aren't you that realtor on Facebook?" That's when it really starts blowing up.
Yeah. I assumed it's probably a lot of what we call fuzzy ROI. And again, for those who aren't familiar with that term, ROI meaning what's the return on investment, ROI. We call it fuzzy ROI because it's kind of hard to track, right? Like if someone comes up to you at a restaurant or they're just like, hey, I recognize you, you're that realtor, or you're at church or you're grocery shopping or whatever. And you just find people are recognizing you more. And then within the course of a year, your business doubles, but you're looking back at it and you're like, I don't really know how many of these were platform leads, quote unquote, or how many of these clicks or leads were literally from my Facebook lead gen ads. As much as I
Yeah.
just noticed in the last year, I'm getting twice as many inbound phone calls or twice as many referrals. And, the cumulative result of that at the end of the year is that your business doubled. So we call that fuzzy ROI because it's kind of fuzzy how you calculate the attribution there of where is all this business or leads coming from. You can kind of only see it in hindsight at the end of the year, like, oh my gosh, my business doubled.
Something funny, Tim. When I first started real estate, I started trying to do billboards, and in our area, they cost about $800 a piece, right? And they were about the same back then. But I've lived in my area my whole life, so I tried to reach everybody I didn't have contact information for, or acquaintances and that kind of thing. But if you look at what we're doing with platform, it's like billboards on steroids, because on my listing tours, I'm getting about 60 to 70,000 views, right? The listing videos. You don't get that many people. You get people driving down the road. You might get 70,000 impressions or whatever they
Right,
call it
right,
in
right.
billboards, but you don't get that good exposure where people recognize you. It was literally Sunday. I was shopping. We meal prep every Sunday, and a lady just walked up. She says, "You're that realtor, aren't you?" I'm like, "Yes, I am. Thanks for noticing." So it's pretty cool seeing the difference between billboards and what you guys are doing with platform.
Yeah, this is something that you can kind of compare and contrast with any other form of marketing media, whether it's billboards or anything else. But back when I was doing sales calls for platform before we had Diana on the team, who's amazing, one very common thing I would explain on a sales call is what makes this different from sending direct mail or doing billboards or any of the non-digital advertising is retargeting. Because let's say that 60,000 people do see one of your billboards in real life, right? There's no way of knowing who actually saw the billboard and who spent more than a couple seconds looking at it, who actually read your name, Aaron Nelson, because there's no way of just driving by a billboard to distinguish between people who drove by, never saw it, and people who actually drove by and looked at it for a couple
Right.
seconds. The cool thing about what we're doing with social media ads with the platform strategy is so much of our emphasis is obviously on the retargeting ads, because it would be the equivalent of, hey, someone drove by your billboard and let's say there's a super duper CIA secret sensor on the billboard that somehow tracks who actually looked up and saw the billboard, and then it somehow plants another billboard a quarter mile down the road with another message only to show it to those people who looked at the first one. It's like, obviously, you just can't do that with physical advertising the way that you can with digital. So it's even if you could claim that, hey, my Facebook video got 70,000 views and my billboard got 70,000 impressions, it's a total apples to oranges comparison because we actually have a mechanism on the back end with retargeting ads to keep showing ads to those people. We actually know how many specific people saw the first video, right? And what we do with platform is Facebook kind of is sketchy in how they count views because they'll count a view as like 3 seconds. And now if you want to set it this way, they can even track a view at 2 seconds, which kind of inflates the numbers. Obviously, it's just inflation. But what we do on manually in the ad account settings for clients is we will change the retargeting criteria to be if someone watched 10 seconds of this video. Because that way we 100% know without any ambiguity. If someone watched 10 seconds of your video, they were definitely watching, right? It wasn't just a scroll. They were definitely watching. So that's how we set the retargeting ads so that, hey, if someone watched any of Aaron's videos for more than 10 seconds, let's keep showing ads to them. That's what makes this so powerful. And there's no equivalent of that with a billboard or with a newspaper ad or with direct mail or with radio advertising. There's no way of knowing who's actually engaging with your content.
To go full circle on that, something we started doing here in the last, 3 or 4 months, we started running a few billboards again, but instead of doing a generic ad, we started putting, have you seen what I posted on Facebook on there?
Yeah.
So just generating all that going back to our Facebook page.
Yeah. And people are like, oh, that's right. That's where I've seen that guy, or I recognize that. I actually love when clients do billboards, but find a way to link offline and online.
Right.
Because if you do that, it does kind of create a 1 + 1 = 3 effect where the billboards make your social media ads more effective and your social media ads make the billboards more effective because people kind of have that light bulb moment of like, oh, that's right. That's that guy I follow on Facebook. Oh, I've seen him before. So that absolutely can work. So if I hit rewind here, the reason I asked you earlier, Aaron, about your business doubling, you said you went from about 16 to over 30 transactions this year on the real estate side. The reason I was curious about how much of that is fuzzy ROI is because I assumed it was if you're running all these other businesses. If you're running a home service business, you've got a property management company that has over 700 doors. So it's a large company, right? It's not like you're a property manager with 14 doors. That's a pretty large, legitimate property management firm.
Right.
Almost by definition, if your marketing is going to be effective to grow the real estate side, it has to be kind of branding and inbound marketing, because what you probably don't have is time. Like, you don't have hours every day to be following up with leads and calling people. If the marketing is going to be worth it, it needs to be convincing people to call you, not the other way around, where
That's
you're
right.
calling them and chasing them. And I think that's honestly one of the coolest parts of the platform strategy is that when it works really well, that's how it works. It's getting people to call you or message you or email you versus you having to chase a bunch of people. Have you experienced that?
Absolutely. After joining platform and learning about what brand awareness is versus lead gen, that's 1,000% what it is, because my phone's ringing. I'm not having to chase these people down for business, which is the worst thing about having to do any kind of sales or salesy job, is trying to chase people down that don't want to hear you. Right. So having people listen to you, learn about you on Facebook, figure out who you are. I mean, that's worth its weight in gold, because those calls coming in, they're ready to transact with you, to do business. You hardly ever get any people arguing with you about commission because they already know you. They see your videos, they see how you advertise, so they see what you're bringing to the table.
Yeah, that's the topic there that probably doesn't get enough attention on this show, is if you follow the platform strategy, whether you hire platform marketing or you're trying to do all this on your own, if you follow the platform strategy, it changes the commission conversation and the margins you're able to have in your business, because the closer you can get people emotionally to feeling like you're their friend and they know you, the more awkward it is for them, to be honest, to like try to weasel you down on commission and be like, hey, can you work for this percent instead of that percent? Or can you do it for a little bit cheaper because my buddy over here, I know this other discount brokerage is willing to do it way cheaper. If they feel like they know you, it's almost awkward for them to ask. In the same way, it'd be awkward to ask your friend for a discount. I've always been of the belief that friends don't ask friends for discounts. If you offer one, that's cool. But if I'm going to go get my hair cut and my buddy is a barber, let's say, it's kind of weird to ask him for a discount because I'm his friend. If anything, I should be more willing to pay full price because it's my friend, right?
Yep.
And that same dynamic, you can harness that in your real estate business. The more content you're putting out, the more people they feel like they know you personally. the less likely it is they're going to be like, hey, can you do this for cheaper? I found this other company that'll list for 1% or 2% or whatever. Can you match them? And you'll just be like, no, that's not what I do, because look at all the marketing I do for you. And then oftentimes they'll just say, oh, okay, I just thought it was worth asking.
Right.
And then they happily pay whatever your normal full standard commission is.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that happens uh, infrequently now, but every once in a while you'll still get that question on commission, seeing if you'll drop. But
Yeah.
I hardly have anybody ever balk at the percentage that we charge.
I think historically, when agents were thinking about that, like, oh, how do I handle myself, or what are my true principles that I cling to, right, when I have the commission conversation, or so often it's like a sales conversation, or it's like a script. It's like, hey, what script do you use when clients try to negotiate down your commission? Are you thinking it's like this sales problem? I've always viewed it as a marketing thing. It's like, if they're even asking that in the first place, it means your marketing probably didn't educate them enough, or didn't position you in such a way where it's just not obvious. It's like, hey, no, I'm not a discount,
Yeah,
agent.
and in the last few years, it's been I've come from the stance of I'm more of a marketer than anything else. So, and I think that's kind of helped too. And I've tried to even tell the agents that are brokerage the same thing. Your job isn't to be in sales. Your job's to be in marketing. Once you have clients coming to you, your job is to get the household. And how can you do that the most creatively? To get them the best money. So.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes back to marketing, right? That's kind of the broader point I'm trying to make there. Is whether you're talking about the commissions you charge or the amount of referrals you're getting, like, it really comes back to marketing. Because without, proper marketing and building that brand, well, then yeah, if you get into a conversation, let's say you're like on a listing appointment, in person having this conversation, there's not a whole lot you can say if someone's like, well, I found this other agent who sold a lot of homes and is willing to do it for 1% cheaper than you. There's not really a great comeback for that, like, unless you have elite marketing and you can say, well, that's actually an apples to oranges comparison, and here's why, right?
Right.
And you talk about all the marketing um that you're doing. So, Aaron, by the way, how did you actually hear about platform? How did you first find out about us?
Yeah, it's interesting. So we actually started our brokerage in 2023. Shortly after that, it was, I think, around July of 23. I was just scrolling on Facebook, just one of those, mastermind real estate pages or whatever it might be. And I came across a post from Neil, who was with Platform. And it was actually a post from somebody else asking about marketing. And Neil replied to that post just talking about Platform. And you could tell it wasn't an AI bot or anything like that. It was actually a human that was telling their story about how they were successful with this random company I'd never heard of, and so I just had to make the call. So I called, I set up online. I forget how I did it, but it was
Yeah.
within a day. I made that call, spoke with you guys, and it's a no brainer. I mean, there's no contract length or anything like that. So, speaking of the no brainer side, everybody says that it's an expensive thing, but I've always told even my account manager, Amanda, like, this is not expensive at all, because if you're going to pay for, boosting posts on social media, you just need to discount that anyway. You're going to do that no matter what. So the service that we get through Platform is
Right. Right.
incredible, because if I went and even tried to hire a VA or anything like that, I'd be paying a comparable amount. They would have less expertise.
Yeah, they
Uh,
exactly. They would have no idea what they're
yeah,
doing.
you'd
Yeah.
have to rehire every 6 months. Yeah, so it's a no-brainer.
You'd have to be paying someone else separately to edit all of your videos, make I mean, yeah, it's when I look at everything Platform does for an agent, I'm biased, obviously. I'm the founder, CEO, whatever, but like, when I look at everything we do for an agent, I'm like, yeah, we could probably double the price and it would still be, valuable, compared to if you went out and tried to hire separate contractors to
Sure.
to do everything separately. No, don't worry, for anyone who's listening to this, Platform's not going to double our price. But if you actually were to make a line item list of like, hey, in the absence of Platform, go try to hire local contractors to do everything we're doing, and then cross your fingers and hope that you find someone who's a world-class expert on social media marketing and Facebook, and they actually live in your town. It's like, good luck with that,
Right.
because almost by definition, if someone's actually that good at it, they're not going to be, taking on small local clients like that. They're probably working with much larger firms. So that's that's kind of the cool sweet spot we've found is we are really good at this. We are world class at this, but by having this one client per market philosophy, it allows us to simultaneously be a local marketing firm and a national marketing firm. Like we are national, but at the same time we're local because we're only working with one person, per market. So it's a cool business model. Um, have you tried other marketing programs or services before, Aaron? Like, did you have anything to compare it to? Have you ever even bought like Zillow leads or Realtor.com or anything like
Oh,
that?
sure. Like on the lead gen side, even recently I've tried that, and I found that you can spend what $5,000 $6,000 at least in our area on Realtor.com,
Right.
and I don't know if it's just the way the market is right now or what, but the leads usually aren't any good. It's either people wanting to rent a house or they're not ready to buy or they can't buy. And you hardly ever get any seller leads with platform with the fuzzy ROI. You get plenty of listing leads, and I'm finding very quickly that spending those thousands of dollars on lead gen is not worth it. Even if they say, that those leads are ready to go, and supposedly Zillow and Realtor.com, those leads are, a little bit lower hanging fruit on the vine. I don't find that quite to be the case. I think that the brand awareness that we are building with you guys is what's allowed us to be successful, and it does take time. I think
Yeah.
it took probably close to a year for me to start getting that kind of I don't want to say local celebrity, but just to be known around town, from people that I've never met before.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I think that's a better way to spend your money. Uh, Take it out of that lead gen, where if it's not making you at least 3 or 4 times what you're spending, put it into your brand awareness.
Yeah. I think this doesn't get talked about enough, kind of the decline of the effectiveness of Zillow and Realtor.com, because we've been in the business now for over 11 years. We're actually will be coming up on our 12th year here at Platform Marketing. So it doesn't feel like it's been that long. But when I look back, like, man, how different was the marketing landscape for realtors and like lead generation companies 12 years ago? I mean, dude, even just 5 or 6 years ago, when we think like pre-COVID, like Zillow was usually a good investment. Realtor.com was usually a good investment. Like you would pay them 2 grand a month or 4 grand a month, 5 grand a month, whatever. And almost every month you'd be getting one or two closings from it. So yeah, it was expensive, but it absolutely worked. Right.
Right.
And the reason was macroeconomic. Like back in 2012, 2013, 2014, we had almost a 10-year run there where home affordability of like the average median home prices relative to median American wages was like the greatest ratio it's basically ever been. Like homes were more affordable relative to actual income than pretty much at any time since they've been tracking it, and interest rates were also relatively low throughout that time. So it's just this sweet spot of like homes are affordable. And frankly, if you have a job, even if it's not a super high paying job, but in most areas of the country, right? So obviously not New York or San Francisco or whatever, but in most areas of the country, certainly in Texas, right? If you had a job, even if you were just like working at Walmart, right, for the equivalent of $18 an hour, $20 an hour, assuming you didn't have a ton of debt, like you didn't have a bunch of student loans or credit card debt or whatever, like as recently as, 2014, 2015, 2016, you could probably still buy a house, right? Like your DTI would qualify you to buy like a cheap starter home in your area, even if you didn't have a super high paying job, right? Where I'm going with all this is that we took it for granted at the time because for the last 10 years, it basically just felt normal, right? Especially if you hadn't been in real estate for longer than 10 years or so. Many agents right now, that's all they've ever known is that, oh, yeah, well, if you can fog a mirror, like you can probably buy a house, right? And Zillow, like we didn't realize it at the time, but Zillow's business model and, Realtor.com and all those portal websites, I don't mean to pick on Zillow, but really
Sure.
all of them, right? They have the same business model. They're trying to generate leads by showing people information about houses, and if you want more info you have to create an account, log in, and then boom, you're now a lead, right? That's been sold to a bunch of realtors. That business model worked as long as like the average American could actually afford a starter house, because then anyone could log on to Realtor.com, Zillow, whatever, find a house, and there was plentiful leads, and a lot of those leads actually qualified to buy houses, right? Now, when home prices are so high and interest rates nominally aren't historically high right now, like they're really not high. Like a mortgage rate in the low sixes is where we are right now. And I saw that the Feds just announced literally less than 24 hours ago they're going to start buying. I think they said like $200 billion of mortgage-backed securities. And so if and when that happens, it depends how quickly they buy them. Like if that's going to happen gradually over 6 months or a year, or if they're going to do it in less than 90 days, like, it'll bring down mortgage rates a good bit just by compressing the spread, right, between the 10-year treasury um, and mortgage rates. So like in the next 6 months, we could see rates come down another 0.5%. I don't know. Right. But we're still nowhere near as affordable, right, as homes were in 2013, 2014, 2015, 16, and so on. And so that's what doesn't get talked about enough, is that Zillow's business model and Realtor.com's business model only worked if the average home was affordable to like the average American. And that's just no longer true, right? So that's why people are like, hey, I was spending $5,000 on Zillow or $5,000 on Realtor.com, and I'm just not getting the return anymore. It's because, well, all the buyers that used to be going to those websites can't afford a house anymore. So why would they log in and give all their contact information to Zillow or Realtor if they know that, like, hey, all I can realistically afford is $1,800 a month, let's say, and any home in my area is probably going to cost me $2,500 a month. And so there's just a math problem there. That's why I think the platform strategy, to kind of bring this full circle, you said, is bringing you a lot of listing leads. You're getting a lot of seller leads because the
Right.
type of branding and marketing that we're doing with these local social media ads is very intentionally designed. It's not an accident or a coincidence. It's very intentionally designed to not appeal to first-time home buyers because in this market we're in this economy we're in, like, first-time home buyers are in a really tough spot, right? So we want to get you existing homeowners and those seller leads, because frankly, if you don't have inbound seller leads, listing leads, it's pretty tough to be a realtor right now, because I don't, I wouldn't wish that on anyone if your entire business is first-time home buyers in this market.
And that'd be incredibly time consuming. And like we talked about, I mean, I just don't have time to handle any, I can
Yep.
handle buyers,
Yep.
but that can't be my full business.
Yeah, certainly not first-time home buyers where, they're asking all the questions like, do you have down payment assistance? And my credit isn't ideal. Can you refer me to a credit repair specialist? And it's like, again, when I started platform, I remember all those leads, and we used to have a lot of platform clients who were connected with like a credit repair specialist. It was just part of their team. That it was regular that you would have a lead come in, they would need a little help with credit repair or whatever, and then 6 months down the road they'd be ready to go. It's like, well, now you don't even, frankly, I mean, realtors probably can't say this out loud, so I'll say it. Like, you don't even waste your time with leads who need credit repair, because if right now you need credit repair in this market, in this economy, with interest rates and home prices where they are, there's basically no way you're going to be able to magically afford a house in 4 months if you can't afford one
Right.
right now, right? I mean, the math just is what it is. So I think the decline of Zillow and the decline of Realtor.com as being like viable marketing channels for realtors, um, it's not an accident, right? It's because of like macroeconomic forces. So if you're a realtor, building your brand is what you have to do. Like, you can't grow your business based on just lead generation by buying internet leads, because the vast majority of people can't afford a house right now,
Yeah.
right?
And
Like,
how
you have
temporary
to,
is that? Relying on
right?
Realtor.com or Zillow or any of these other portals where you get, I'll get 5 texts a day from different ones that are wanting me to sign up for their service, but they've got full control over you because they can go up on the price of those leads anytime. And I
Right.
feel like the companies we've talked about have maxed out those prices to the point of they can't really max them out anymore because realtors can't afford it. If you run the math on it, the number of actual sales, at least in my area, that you get off of those lead portals basically amounts to what it's going to make you in commission. So
Yeah.
you're not going to make
Yeah.
any money off it.
Yeah. And uh I mean, already now most of the business going to Zillow Realtor.com is usually big teams, that have different ways of monetizing those leads, where some of the larger teams are doing things where they partner with obviously a mortgage lender. So they're capturing a piece of the, mortgage origination, fees, or they co-own a title company. There's all these ways that obviously you can monetize the closings. But when the cost of lead generation is that expensive, the math doesn't work unless you have a fully vertically integrated business where you're getting a real estate commission, you're making some money on the mortgage origination, you're getting a piece of the title or closing, right? Insurance, obviously, a lot of agents co-own an insurance agency, so when they get homeowners insurance, you're making a little bit of money there. If the lead gen is that expensive, you almost can't really justify it unless you're getting a piece of uh, of all that. I mean, we so regularly, Aaron, we so regularly have people come on the platform show and they tell us exactly what you just said. Where, yeah, I mean, we tried Zillow, Realtor.com, and it's just not worth it. It's not that you don't get leads. It's that, like you said, in a best case scenario, it's like, why do all that work just to break even?
That's right.
Like
Yeah.
if in a best case scenario, I'm spending $5,000 a month on this and I might get a $5,000 commission check every month. And also those are the type of leads where it comes in and it's like Sunday at 11 a.m. and they're like, hey, I want to go look at this house. And you're like, sorry, I'm in church, or sorry, I'm watching a football game, or, whatever. Right. And then they'll go to some other realtor. It's like, well, you don't want to have your life be like an on call, like you're a doctor on call at the ER or something.
No, and you almost
It's
turn
not worth
into a
it.
slave to your phone at that point, right? Yeah, you've got to jump on it because most of those portals send it out to three different agents. So if you're not the first one to call, then you might as well not call at all.
And again, in 2015, 2016, like that was viable because there was so many leads coming in that, like, yeah, if you didn't want to show one of them on a Sunday afternoon, Sunday morning, fine. There's probably going to be a bunch more coming Sunday night or Monday. But now when the pie has shrunk so much, like, like you feel like you kind of have to say yes to every lead. And then it's like, well, what are we doing here? Right. If
Yeah.
you have to be available functionally 24/7, which is what I like about the platform strategy, that if we build you up as being an expert and a champion in your community, and people actually respect you and they want to work with like you individually, not just any other agent, but they specifically want to work with, right, Aaron Nelson.
Yeah.
In that case, that is the difference of someone messaging you on a Sunday evening at 5:15 p.m. and you saying, hey, you know what, I can't show you that house right now, I'm actually booked on Monday too, would you be free Tuesday morning? Right. And that's a difference in that moment of them saying, oh, yep, cool, I'd be happy to wait till Tuesday morning, look forward to it. Because they're not going to call some other realtor. They specifically want to work with you because of the
Exactly.
trust. Yeah, because of the trust that your marketing has built up. That's an apples to oranges comparison. You cannot compare that like qualitatively with the lead you get from Zillow or a realtor.com, just because of the effect it has on like your sanity.
You know, something interesting, when I first signed up with Platform, I was told that you're going to get some seller leads too. And I was kind of taken back, surprised, like, how am I going to get seller leads? Because all these portals we've been talking about for so long now, it's mainly buyer leads. You don't get any
Yep.
sellers, but I didn't
Yep.
really understand the whole brand awareness factor and how much that would come into play. In fact, I think we get more listing leads from the fuzzy ROI than we do buyer leads.
Yeah. Yeah. I think brand awareness certainly gets a bad rap, like doing brand marketing versus lead generation, right? And I'll be the first to say this because I wrote an entire book about this. Like when I published the book High Hanging Fruit, I think I published either in late 2015 or 2016, something like that. When this book was published, the whole point of that book, the whole thesis was, don't listen to brand marketers. Like, you should be generating leads and you should care about the cost per lead and the conversion per lead, and you should know your numbers. Because at the time I truly felt that like anyone selling you brand marketing, like if it's some local newspaper advertising rep or a local radio rep, like the reason they're selling you brand marketing is because deep down they know the advertising they're selling you can't be measured anyways. And so they're pushing this ambiguous, oh, it's about building a brand, because like they really have no argument otherwise, because you can't measure the ROI of a billboard. You can't measure really the ROI of a newspaper ad or a radio ad, whatever. Times have changed. Like what I now know is like we kind of can measure the impact of brand advertising if you look at it over time. Like, you're a great example of like, I don't know the exact ROI of every video ad you've done with platform, every listing video, or every brand like retargeting ad where you're at a local business, a local restaurant, whatever. I can't necessarily track, hey, you got this many closings because of this particular retargeting ad, right? What we can do is look back and be like, okay, cool. Aaron joined the platform marketing program, and in that time, Aaron scaled from 16 closings a year to he'll do, I think you said 32 transactions in the last year.
Right.
That's more than doubling, right? That's more than, that's 100% growth right there. So it turns out we can actually measure uh, branding, but for so long, the idea of brand awareness got a bad rap because it was kind of like it wasn't falsifiable, right? Like you couldn't empirically prove that it was working, and therefore people would throw money at Zillow and Realtor.com, because at least then you could say, hey, I spent $3,000 on Zillow and here's exactly how many closings I got out of it.
And I think most of my career being a realtor, marketing was actually a dirty word because
Yeah,
every company that would come to you, they'd offer you so much, you'd spend a ton of money, and then you would have a negative return on your investment. I think platform is the first time, you talk about newspapers. For years, you run an ad in a newspaper, it costs you X amount of money, you wouldn't get a single call. And you just keep doing that over and over again, just
yep.
throwing money down the drain. And Platform was the first company to come along, and the only company to come along for me so far that actually offers a positive return. Like we're talking about, the money that we spend, I mean, we doubled our income last year. So pretty
It's
wild.
amazing. That's amazing, man. What is your actual ads budget every month? What are you actually spending on the Facebook ads?
Last year in 25, we upped it to 1,200 a month on the ads. And I think we do
Okay.
500 for every listing video we do.
Okay. So it's kind of variable where if I'm understanding correctly, like every month, no matter what, you're going to spend 1,200 on kind of your base retargeting,
Right.
keeping you top of mind in the community. But depending on how many listings you have, let's say you have 10 listings, which would be a lot, but let's just say 10 because it's a nice round number. It makes the math easy. You would spend $500 per listing times 10 listings. Is that
Yeah, absolutely. I
okay?
know some agents want to kind of cap that, but the experience I've seen, if you look at the number of views you're getting on all those videos, on especially the listing videos, our uh, our numbers typically go up to about 15,000 views a day that I'm seeing on that, which is pretty wild. So
Yeah,
anytime that we have a listing video running, the views on Facebook shoot up sky high. So
for
I
sure.
always
For
want to
sure.
keep at least one, hopefully two listing videos running at any time. So
And the value of that obviously isn't that, hey, the more video views a listing gets, it's going to help that listing sell, because we all know, like, if the home is priced accurately, price is what ultimately sells a house, right? It's really about putting you in an emotional position to where when you go to that seller, let's say the home is a little bit overpriced and you kind of both knew that when you listed it, but you took the listing anyways. Nothing egregious, but I don't know. I mean, what's the average price point in your market,
we're
Aaron?
about 240.
So let's say that someone has a $250,000 house, but they're just adamant that I want to get 270 for it because in 2021 my neighbor sold theirs for 275, right? And you're kind of like, okay, well, we'll list it and we'll see what happens. But you kind of know deep down, like, this house is going to sell for around 250. There's no way it's selling for 275, right?
Right.
If you get 50,000 views on that listing video, which it sounds like you pretty regularly are getting 50,000 views or more on your listing
Absolutely.
videos, that's the difference between you being able to go to that seller, after a couple weeks and say, hey, I mean, how many people live in San Angelo?
About 100,000.
Okay, so it's like, hey, 100,000 people live here. In the first couple weeks this listing has been live, 50,000 or more people have seen the video. In most populations, I don't know the exact demographics of San Angelo, Texas, but in most populations, at least half of the given population are children under the age of 18.
Sure.
So they're not buying houses, right? There's really about, in a town of 100,000 people, there's going to be about 50,000 people that even theoretically are adults and can purchase a house. So if 50,000 people have seen that listing video, in other words, every single possible person in this town has seen the video. And if you haven't had any serious offers yet, right, like, the only possible thing it can be is price, because it's not an exposure issue, right? And if you put yourself in that position, it kind of removes the emotional friction from that conversation, and it just makes it about the data. And man, I do not envy other realtors who don't have that, who have to go into those price conversations with their sellers, just crossing their fingers and trying to convince them to lower the price. Because obviously sellers do not want to lower the price. Like, they're always going to say, well, it's easy for you to say that. You're the realtor. You'll get paid no matter what. But that $10,000 or that $20,000 really means a lot to me. You don't really have that awkwardness in these
100%
conversations.
right. Yeah, you know what? I didn't even think about that really before we jumped on here, but having those conversations, and I've been working because business has grown so much. I've been working to kind of systematize everything and build processes out because business has grown. So you kind of have to, right? Part of that has been having that conversation with sellers because everybody knows the way our market is. Houses have to come down a little bit
Yeah.
a lot of the time. So that conversation has become, like I said, more of a systematic conversation. We've looked at the marketing. We know the marketing is out there the way it needs to be. We've gotten this many views on our listing videos, so the social media is working well, but we're still not getting foot traffic through the door to get any kind of offer on the house. So this is why we need to drop it by this much. So that's a great point.
Yeah. I mean, like, we know the marketing is working.
Yep.
The only thing that's not working is the price. Right. And then when you have data of like 50,000 people saw the video, it's not just my opinion. This is just the reality of the math here. Like a seller, it kind of has to just evaluate that. And it might not be comfortable to hear that if you're a seller and you really thought you were going to sell your house for 270 and it turns out it's worth 250. Right. But it shifts the emotional blame in the dynamic of that conversation into being about the numbers versus I'm mad at Aaron.
Yep.
Right. And that again, it completely changes how they view their working relationship uh, with you. You know, like as we talk about it, it's almost like so obvious. It's like why isn't every realtor doing this? And I think the answer to that is like emotional courage. It takes emotional courage to invest money in something like platform marketing. It takes emotional courage to put money into an ads budget and to spend money promoting every listing. And like many realtors don't have that emotional courage to actually do marketing like this and commit resources to it. And so they spend the rest of their careers wondering why their business isn't growing, wondering why they're not getting more, referrals. I mean, in platform, I don't want to say it's common, like, oh, everyone doubles their business, because obviously it's a huge achievement. But I would say it's not uncommon that we hear people, oh, I joined platform and within about a year my business doubled. Like it's a pretty regular thing that happens around here when you commit to that level of emotional courage and making an investment in your business. Because like you said, if you're in a town, man, of 100,000 people and
Yep.
you're regularly having videos get 50, 75,000 views, it's kind of just a matter of time before, like, I know you kind of hesitated saying this before, but you're like, I don't know, I'm kind of like a local celebrity at this point. It's like you are, right? Like if you're regularly having social media content get that amount of impressions and views and clicks, like you are a local celebrity. So of course your business has grown as much as it has. It would honestly be weird if it didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, something funny. Hopefully, 2026 is a much better year than 25, but I feel like there's so much pent up demand that the whole, local celebrity idea, once the market really does take off, I think that the phone's just going to be ringing off the hook because I'm hopefully out of 100,000 people, I'm for sure in the top three realtors that they think of. They might have a cousin or a best friend that's a realtor,
Sure.
which
Yep.
you'll never win those over. But beyond that, I should be at the very top because there's nobody in my market getting as much engagement on social media as what we're doing here.
And you've had like people in real life tell you, "Oh, I loved that ad you did," or "I saw this post or that post."
Absolutely. So something funny that I've been doing, and I talked to my account manager Amanda about it. We made a post, but every time somebody comes up to me, especially that I don't know, and says, "Hey, I see you all over Facebook. I love what you're doing." I'll take a selfie with them. So I'll just turn around and do a quick selfie, and then we posted like 5 or 6 pictures of people
That's
that had
cool.
come up to me. So it's pretty cool seeing that. I had a guy come
I
up to
love that.
me when we were eating lunch the other day. Just saying, "Hey, I just wanted to introduce myself to you. I see you all over Facebook." So it's been pretty incredible.
What do you think has been your favorite ad that you've run with platform? And I'm not even saying what's the most successful ad or what got the most clicks or whatever, but what has been your favorite ad that like people were telling you in real life, like, oh, I loved this ad you did, whether it was a photo or a video? Is there like one particular one that sticks out for you?
Let me think. Well, I will say I've even had other realtors come up to me that are like, I never read long posts, but I read every single one of yours. So that's been pretty cool. One of my favorite ones recently was just a personal moment type deal. One of the houses that I lived in when I was a kid came up for sale, and it wasn't the greatest house. It was a little 2 bedroom, 1 bath house that my mom and I rented when I was probably 6, 7 years old. But I called that realtor and I went over there and I did like a walkthrough of it. But I just took a picture of myself outside of the front of it and just kind of told the story about when I lived there, what it was like then versus what it had changed now, updates they had done, things I didn't realize about the house when I was 6 years old, because perspective changes so much. I think
Yep.
that's probably one of my favorites. And it also got more engagement than most of the other posts. You know, a lot of the lighthouse type stuff that we've been doing has been a big deal. We've been doing the $100 lunch. It was supposed to
Yeah.
be just a
Yeah.
one time thing, but we've taken the ball and ran with it, and we do it once a quarter now. So that's
Okay.
really been fun, and it's nice to see the not only the engagement on Facebook, but people will message me say, "Hey, can you put me on the list to come next time?" We're up to 40 people on that list now that want to be a part
So,
of that lunch.
okay. So tell me about this idea. Let's just assume someone listening to this podcast has no idea what you're talking about when you say $100 lunch. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, so I invite people that I know to come just have lunch. I'll buy everybody lunch that attends, but they have to tip $100. So if you have 10 people, that's $1,000 towards the waitress or waiter. And what we try to do is not just randomly show up somewhere to a random person waiting on you. We try to do a little bit of research, see who's in need of something like that, and then try to go bless that person. So the last one that we did, uh, the lady, I've actually known her a while, but we kind of lost connection. We hadn't talked in a long time. But her 18-year-old son has cancer. So he's out of work. She's having to leave work a lot to be able to go take him for treatments and things like that. So they're really in need of the support, not only the money, but just having a group of people come and bless you and honor you for an hour or hour and a half or whatever it might be. That's such a big deal, and
Yeah. Yeah.
um, it's hard because I always get up and do just a little presentation and having somebody cry because it's an emotional thing. It's just it's pretty powerful, and people see that, and that's I think why we're up to about 40 people that want to attend those types of things.
Yeah. And like, what's so cool about that is it's a marketing strategy, but it's also not. You know what I mean? Like you're not doing it because, oh, I want to get more closings, because literally that has nothing to do with real estate. You're not giving a speech about real estate. It has no like logical connection to selling homes or the real estate market. It's just something cool that you do in the community, and because you have so many people following you on social media, they say, "Oh, wow, Aaron looks like a cool guy. Like I want to work with someone like that." Even though the act itself has nothing to do with real estate. It's not like you're handing out brochures or business cards to every person who walks in. It's literally just, "Hey, we're going to go out for lunch. Let's do something super cool and leave a big tip." If
Absolutely.
you're listening to this podcast right now or you're watching us on YouTube, uh $1,000 to you probably doesn't seem like a massive deal. I'm not saying it's insignificant, but $1,000, if you're the type of person who's listening to the Platform Marketing Show, $1,000 is probably not like life changing money for you. But for a lot of people, it is. I mean, if you're working as a server somewhere, $1,000 unexpectedly when you were thinking you were going to get like a $40 tip or something can mean the difference between you having money for rent or not, or you had some car repair that you had no idea how you were going to get the money to pay for it, or you mentioned, this person, had a child with cancer. Like $1,000 changes that person's, life. I mean, that'd be a really emotional moment. That's amazing.
Sure. In this last one, that we had 2,300 for the people that attended. We had people that couldn't attend that just Venmoed me money to add to the tip, and then we had a few people. Even our mayor, he was running late, so I had to give him a hard time. But he showed up about 10 minutes after we were done and personally gave her $100. So it turned out to be, I think, about 2,500 by the time we were done.
Wow, that's amazing, man. That's so
Yeah.
cool. And again, like you're just being active in your community, And that's the ultimate marketing, right? That's what we talk about with like the lighthouse strategy as the metaphor here, is what a lighthouse does when it shines its light, right? What a lighthouse does is its own advertising. Like a lighthouse doesn't have to advertise to ships because what it does is its best
Yeah.
advertising. That is such a cool example of that. Well, Aaron, is there any last bit of advice that you would want to share with those listening, whether they're already in the platform marketing program or if someone's listening and they're not yet a part of platform? Like, what have you learned about yourself or learned about what it takes to grow a business in the last couple of years?
Yeah, kind of like we talked about, just what has changed so much since I started with platform, understanding the brand awareness. If you're interested in joining platform and learning about what they do, understand it's not going to be a month or two before you start getting business. It's not like these lead gen, but that's a good thing, because like we've talked about, the quality of the leads and the lead gen, not great. When you join, plan on joining for 6 months, a year, hopefully a year, because if you can put that much time in, and if you can actually sit down and do the content, because that's the most important thing. And that's a great thing about platform is they're accountability partners too. So they're not just giving you stuff to do or telling you to do stuff and then just leaving you out hanging. They actually hold you accountable to get these things done. So I would say plan on sticking it out for the long haul, 6 to at least 12 months. You will start seeing a difference, and turn off some of that lead gen and start putting money towards building your own personal brand. Because if you keep putting your money into lead gen, they're just going to keep raising the prices and make it unaffordable for you to do that. So you might as well start building your own brand in your community so that people just think of you first. So that would be my advice.
All right, man. That's a good spot to end on. This has been a great conversation. I think people have learned a lot about the marketing landscape for realtors right now, ways to get involved in their community, and also just how to think about marketing. This kind of tension that exists between lead gen and branding. So, Aaron, thank you for your time. Super cool to see how much your business has grown over this last year. And guys, we'll see you on the next episode of the Platform Marketing Show.
Thanks, Tim.